Is the Catholic Church over? This video will be my response to that on an individual level. But basically, this Sunday, I will be debating Joey from All the Stars Are Dead. He's an Orthodox Catholic, Eastern Orthodox, if you or Greek Orthodox, if you want to view it that way. He is going to be coming at me and at the Catholic Church with his best questions on this topic. It will be a single topic debate. We will be having it on Discord. It will be, if you want to join my Discord, I will be on. Now, you might be wondering, well, why is my face not in this video? Because this topic is too important to be about me. So instead I have in front of you a Catholic saint, an icon, Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc is one of the most famous martyrs for the Church. She is also someone who was martyred by the Church, or more specifically, by a corrupt cleric, either a priest or a monk, depending on how you read history. She was martyred for the Church, by the Church, but she never quit loving the Church and never quit loving God. And she's the patron saint of France. She's also a personal hero of mine. But, that being said, there's a reason why I'm going with France. Saint Joan, my hero. She served France and she served the Church, and therefore she served the Pope. Funny thing about the popes, there have been good ones and there have been bad ones. There were actually 29 popes before Constantine came into power in 306. 28 of them resided in Rome after St. Peter's death in approximately 68 AD. So there's about 200 years of popes in Rome, long before the empire recognized Christianity. And most of these were good men, and even great men. But not all of them. No. If you're going to defend something, you must acknowledge its weaknesses. Today I'm going to defend the Church. So what are its weaknesses? The 6 worst popes in history. There's Stephen I from 896 through 897. I don't really know why he's considered the worst, but he was on every list I found. There's Pope John XII from 955 to 9 through 964. He is considered by many to be the most coarse and immoral of all the popes. That's according to Catholic sources, by the way, and Catholic encyclopedias. Simony is supposed to be among his sins, though I'm not judging him and I'm not claiming that they are. Then there is Pope Boniface VIII. He was Pope from 1294 through 1303. He actually helped inspire Dante's The Divine Comedy, specifically the Inferno. He's one of the names mentioned in the Inferno. Then there's Pope Urban II from 1378 through 1389, and he triggered the Great Schism. Now, to be fair, from my point of view, a lot of that blame shouldn't be placed on him. There were things leading up to it. But what about popes who could take the blame? Who you could say directly are known as evil men of their own accord. Well, there's Pope Alexander VI, the Borgia Pope. He was in office from 1492 through 1503. He actually helped inspire Machiavelli. Most of the images that you see of Christ are actually his son Cesare, the main figure in The Prince. His daughter, Lucrezia. Well, Many of the images of the Virgin Mary, especially the Virgin Mary with the Lamb, are actually images of her. So have you ever wondered why or how a Middle Eastern Jewish mother and a Middle Eastern Jewish rabbi look like two white people? That's why. They were known for their brutality and inspired Machiavelli to be Machiavellian in his writings. Then there are the Medici, Pope Leo X. The Medici family is the other evil family from the medieval Renaissance. Pope Leo X was in office from 1513 through 1521. He's the man who turned indulgences into a reason for Luther's reforms. Well, again, much like Urban II, you could say some of the blame shouldn't have been placed on his shoulders. Like the Borgia Pope, it's hard to argue for his character. The Bible has many things in it that are hard to read, hard to understand, hard to put in context. And I'm not talking about supposed contradictions or anything like that. I mean events that characters do, and I don't just mean the bad characters, but the good characters participate in, and acts that are committed. Well, they're not always easy to understand. Commands that God is said to have given to his people are not always easy to understand. Killing of children, taking of slaves, the treatment of concubines. All these are complicated things. Stoning a rebellious child. If you take it down to the principle, the core principle, the spirit of the law that survives the letter of the law, it makes sense. But when you take it literal, like a Sam Harris would do, it's hard to make sense in a modern context of such an ancient society. So is this going to be how I'm going to defend the church? No. I opened this up with Joan of Arc. There's a reason why I opened up with France. Why am I showing you Bibles? I'm going to put on the shelf some books that I feel should never ever be on the same shelf as the Bible. As I said, I began this conversation by talking about France. And there's a legitimate reason. That there is the Marquis de Sade. The Satanic Bible, if you've ever heard it or read it by LaVey, is a children's book. It's crap. There's nothing satanic in it. It lists a bunch of supposed demons that are just the name of false gods. Most of them minor gods at that, from ancient religions. Most of them, in their native religion, were not actually evil gods, but benevolent gods. It tells you that if you masturbate, you can get what you want. And one day I'd like to debunk the book and the mystique around it on this channel. Don't know if I ever will, though. I got other fish to fry, as they say, before that. But the Marquis de Sade, in his writings, 100 days, 120 Days of Sodom, Juliet, Justine, these are masterpieces. They're horrible to read. They make LaVey's book tame. These are truly satanic books. They go after the church and show the evil hypocrisy of people who claim to be religious, at least in the eyes of the Marquis de Sade. He views this as what they have in their heart. But while this is supposed to be fiction, this book helped inflame the revolutions in France. See, the truth is, he wasn't simply writing satire. He was talking about what he felt and what those around him felt was truly going on behind the scenes, about the corruption and true hypocrisy that was actually present in France with the elite and the powerful who also happened to be religious. There's a reason why it was a secular revolution. The corruption of the religious people in France was immense and putrid, and it caused many people to die, a lot of them innocent, some of them even good. Martyrs, that's the word. Another word for martyr is victim. And the Catholic Church has its own list of victims. My family, from the Inquisition, the Reconquista, from Spain, where my family was forcibly converted from Judaism to Catholicism, on my father's side, from Mexico, in Tejas, where my family converted from native tribalism to Catholicism and Christianity. And before you think it's a Catholic thing, understand that this exact same forced conversion happened to the Native Americans under the Protestants, and to the slaves under the Protestants as well. So don't think that it's just a Catholic thing, or only a Christian thing. It exists in the Muslim world as well. So, the French decided to tear down all religion. Is that the answer? Let's see. What about Hollywood? The public scandals naming Weinstein and Spacey. Should we end Hollywood and ban filmmaking from happening in California? What about public schools? Should we ban female teachers or enforce homeschooling only policies? What about leaders from other faiths outside of the Catholic Church? There's Jimmy Swaggart. Should we make evangelicalism illegal? Call its megachurches cults of Satan? What of the Baptist Foundation of Arizona or Fred Phelps? Should fraudulent behavior be the end of all Baptist ministries? What about the Willow Creek Church or the Trinity Baptist Church scandals? What about Warren Jeffs, Avril LeBron, and Jeffrey Lundgren? Should we shut down the Church of Latter-day Saints and make all Mormons pariahs? What about Jung Suk? Should Korean meditation sects be outlawed and persecuted? What about Swami Pramananda? Should yoga be rejected and banned from the shores of America and Australia? This list can go on, from Jim Baker to Dwight York. And even you who might be a Scientologist, you are not immune from this. L. Ron Hubbard, he was convicted of a crime, not just accused, not just named or hinted at in a scandal or slandered, but convicted. Not even Buddhism is immune from sex scandals, abuse of power, and crime. Nor are our governments, nor our law enforcement. Anthony Weiner. Police forcing women to pleasure them so that way they don't have to pay a ticket. Abuses of power happen everywhere, in every branch of society, from rabbis to rappers, from Baptist to Buddhist. We are not immune. It is why Christians developed the concept of original sin, something that is clearly explored in the books you see in front of you. All the books you see in front of you. So is that the end? Did the SJWs win? Are all the modern systems too corrupt to survive? Too corrupt to be allowed to survive? Hollywood, government, police forces. Are they all patriarchal systems that must be destroyed and demolished? Does the past have nothing to offer? Is logic and godless cranium and the amazing atheist correct? No, not even close. There's knowledge in those books you see before you. There's a reason she's kneeling and praying. There's a reason she didn't give up. Let's see what the Bible has to say on this. 1 Timothy 8 through 10. We know that the law is good, provided that one uses it as law with the understanding that law is meant not for a righteous person, but for the lawless and unruly, the godless and sinful, the unholy and profane, those who kill their fathers or mothers, murderers, the unchaste, sodomites, kidnappers, liars, perjurers, and whatever else is opposed to sound teaching, according to the glorious gospel of the blessed God, with which I have been entrusted. Important lesson there. We know that forgiveness is in the Bible. We know that the law and the Bible is meant for the sinner, for the unjust, as a help, as an aid, as a guide, to help get them on the correct path, to show them that people just like them, just as corrupt as them, even worse than them, have found their way to righteousness. But we haven't yet heard what Jesus has to say on the matter. So let's see. Let's start off with Matthew, chapter 18, verse 6. Whoever causes one of these little ones who believes in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone hung around his neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. Woe to the world because of things that cause sin. Such things must come, but woe to the one through whom they come. Mark 9:42. Whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him if a great millstone were put around his neck and he were thrown into the sea. So what should we do about these priests that have done these things? Well, it says here, it's better to go into life maimed than with 2 hands to go into Gehenna, into the unquenchable fire. And if your foot causes you to sin, cut it off. It is better for you to enter into life crippled than with 2 feet be thrown into Gehenna. And if your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. Better for you to enter the kingdom of God with 1 eye than with 2 eyes to be thrown into Gehenna, where their worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. Catholic Church follows the Bible. So let's see what it says. 17:2. He said to his disciples, things that cause sin will inevitably occur, but woe to the person through whom they occur. It would be better for him if a millstone were put around his neck and he be thrown into the sea, than for him to cause one of these little ones to sin. Be on your guard. If your brother sins, rebuke him. If he repents, forgive him. And if he wrongs you 7 times in one day, and returns to you 7 times saying, I am sorry, you should forgive him. For much of that we speak of the dead, for they are gone, and their punishment is in God's hands. And woe to them, for God's punishments are much more wrathful than man's. Infinitely forgiving, infinitely just, infinitely merciful, but infinitely wrathful. Don't be on God's bad side. Again, remember the Bibles? Read them. From the book of the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 11, verses 18 through 20. I knew it because the Lord informed me. At that time you, O Lord, showed me their doings. You would be in the right, O Lord, if I should dispute with you. Even so, I must discuss the case with you. Why does the way of the godless prosper? Why live all the treacherous in contentment? You planted them. They have taken root. They keep on growing and bearing fruit. You are upon their lips, but far from their innermost thoughts. You, O Lord, know me. You see me. You have found that at heart I am with you. Pick them out like sheep for the slaughter. Set them apart for the days of carnage. How long must the earth mourn, the green of the whole countryside wither? for the wickedness of those who dwell in it. Beasts and birds disappear, because they say, God does not see our ways. If running against men has wearied you, how will you race against horses? And if in a land of peace you fall headlong, what will you do in the thickets of the Jordan? For even your own brothers, the members of your father's house, betray you. They have recruited a force against you. Do not believe them, even if they are friendly to you in their words. Yet I, like a trusting lamb led to the slaughter, had not yet realized that they were hatching plots against me. Let us destroy the tree in its vigor. Let us cut him off from the land of the living, so that his name will be spoken no more. And now I'm going to finish with a reading from St. Augustine. Happy are we if we do the deeds of which we have heard and sung. Our hearing them means having them planted in us, while our doing them shows that the seed has borne fruit. By saying this, I wish to caution you, dearly beloved, not to enter the church fruitlessly, satisfied with mere hearing of such mighty blessings, and failing to do good works. You must do good works. For we have been saved by his grace, says the apostle, and not by our works, lest anyone may boast. For it is by his grace that we have been saved. It is not as if a good life of some sort came first, and that thereupon God showed his love and esteem for it on high, saying, let us come to the aid of these men, and assist them quickly, because they are living a good life. No, our life was displeasing to him. Whatever we did by ourselves was displeasing to him. But what he did in us was not displeasing to him. He will, therefore, condemn what we have done, but he will save what he himself has done in us. We were not good, but God had pity on us. He sent his Son to die, not for good men. We were not good, but God had pity on us. And he sent his Son to die, not for good men, but for bad ones. Not for the just, but for the wicked. Yes, Christ died for the ungodly. Notice what is written next. One will hardly die for a righteous man, though perhaps for a good man one will dare even to die. Perhaps someone can be found who will dare to die for a good man. But for the unjust man, for the wicked one, the sinner, who would be willing to die except Christ alone, who is so just that he justifies even the unjust? And so, my brothers, we had no good works, for all our works were evil. Yet, although men's actions were such, God in his mercy did not abandon man. He did not abandon us. He sent his Son to redeem us, not with gold, not with silver, but at the price of his own blood, which was poured out for us. Christ, the spotless Lamb, became the sacrificial victim, led to the slaughter for the sheep that were blemished. If indeed one can say that they were blemished and not entirely corrupt. Such is the grace that we have received. Let us live so as to be worthy of that great grace, and not do injury to it. So mighty is the physician who has come to us, that he has healed all our sins. Anyway, that's it, guys. This video is a little bit long. I'm going to have to edit it. I realize I'm a little sick, so my voice is a little rough. But it ends with forgiveness. Remember that. Joan of Arc, at the end, Joan of Arc forgave. At the end of his mortal life, Jesus Christ forgave. Forgiveness is key. Remember that you too were once a sinner. Forgiveness is key.